Trofeo North America. It's round 7 of the 2023 season from Virginia International Raceway. Absolutely perfect weather conditions for Lamborghini Super Trofeo here at IR. The crowd is here, and they are ready to head out to all the different corners that you can see here. What a great spectator place this racetrack is. It is so welcoming. That's why the fans turn out every season that IMSA returns to this luxurious facility. Look at the crowd, look at the cars parked in the infield, ready to go. Where is Virginia International Raceway? Well, it's in Alton, Virginia, just outside of Danville, Virginia, just north of the Virginia-North Carolina border. 1,300 acres of farmland turn into an absolutely awesome racetrack. It opened back in 1957, 3.25 miles long, 17 corners, big elevation change, you name it, they've got it. High speed, low speed, technical sections, other sections where you can just let the bulls run here with these Lamborghini Super Trofeo Huracan Evo 2s. Expect a great one. 4 different classes. Welcome in, everyone. I'm Brian Till along with Jeremy Shaw. We'll bring you all of the action today from Lamborghini Super Trofeo North America. Jeremy, what a great place, what a great series. It's time to let these guys get at it.
Oh man, yeah, what a season it's been so far. Some tremendous racing action so far. This is round 7 out of 12 this season. The front of the field, it's all been about one car. The car number 1, the defending series champion, Carl Marcelli and Danny Formal. They were unbeaten this season. 6 races, 6 wins. Perfect season so far for that team. And once again, Danny Formal will start on the pole position today. But behind him, wow, it's close.
Well, we talk about the challenges in the Lamborghini Super Trofeo North America series all the time. The challenge, obviously, this race car that is a serious car, the Lamborghini Huracan Super Trofeo Evo 2, well over 600 horsepower. It's a 165-mile-an-hour car, probably here headed into turn 14. Anti-lock brakes and traction control, but you still have to wrestle this thing around this racetrack. And then you've got the number of cars, 4 different classes, but they all drive the exact same car.
Well, they do. That's exactly right. So there's the pro class up front. There's the pro-ams. There's the AM category, and then there's LB Cup for drivers who have very little racing experience. And one of those guys, by the way, has qualified out of this 33-car grid. He's qualified 13th. That's Mark Wilgus, who's been the pace setter this year in the LB Cup, and this is his best overall qualifying of the season so far. Just looking at each of the pole sitters in each of the classes, he in caliber 50 for Forte Racing, powered by US Racetronics, will start in the 13th position. The AM pole sitter, that's Glenn McGee for the 3rd race in a row for Precision Performance Motorsports, the caliber 69. He will start 10th overall, and then the pro and the pro-am pole sitters will start on the front row. They will share the front row of the grid. Luke Berkeley, his best qualifying position so far, 2nd position for NTE Sport in caliber 42, the pro-am pole sitter, and his co-driver is Keon Tandon, who leads the point standings in pro-am. Luke has not done all the races this season, but Keon Tandon leads the point standings. And on the pole position overall, once again, is Danny Formal. This is his 7th pole position, and he is the man to beat this season alongside his regular teammate, Kyle Marcelli.
You talk about Keon Tandon and Luke Berkeley. Luke Berkeley, last time out, got his first Pro-Am victory in Lamborghini Super Trofeo North America in round 2 at Road America. We'll go green this time by 1 pace lap here. And for the fans that stand trackside, for the fans racing at home, easy to tell the difference in the classes, even though all of the cars are the same. There's that, I call it a chiclet, up in the upper right of the windscreen there on the window banner, different color triangle down at the far side of that window banner. Your left, as you look at the car, driver's right if you're sitting in it. That orange chiclet means the pro category, the yellow one is pro-am, green signifies the am category, and the blue is LB Cup. And you'll see the same thing with a kind of a little chiclet, once again, I'll call it, that's on the rear of the car. So whether it's coming at you or going away, you've got a pretty good idea of the different classes. And for the drivers, they need to be aware of that as well. You don't want to get mixed up in a fight with a class car that doesn't matter for your championship, but mixed up they will be. And Jeremy, you said it, they're mixed up on the front row right now. Your pole sitter Danny Formal behind the wheel of the #1 entry from Wade & Taylor Racing with Andretti Autosport sits on the pole, and outside the Pro-Am entry, Luke Berkeley behind the wheel at the start in that number 42, getting ready to go at VIR, round 7 of the 2023 season. Drivers anticipating. They know they have 50 minutes ahead of them once the green flag flies. Waiting patiently, looking up ahead for the green. And for the pole sitter Formal, this is familiar territory. He's been here before. They control the championship in pro. It's going to be a late flag. Waiting, and here we go. The Bulls have been let loose at VIR.
A good start for Nate Stacey. The black car in second place moves alongside Luke Berkeley heading into turn 1. He might have that second position. He's running in the pro class. It's Danny Formal who leads the race overall, and I'm not going to say anything yet, but it looks like they have all made it through turn 1, all 33 cars. That's great news.
Yeah, you can take a breath now, Jeremy, right? I mean, the driver's picking it up, and so impressive, because you think about all of the different experience levels from the front of the grid to the back of the grid. And as I said, well over 600 horsepower in the back of this Lamborghini Huracan Super Trofeo Evo 2. That's a lot to control on the Hankook tires that they are all on, all using that same Hankook tire. And this first lap is incredibly important. You need to go out, figure out where the racetrack is after you were last on it. It will have changed because of the rubber that's been put down, the temperature that is picked up through the day, and you've got to get some temperature and tire pressure before the car is really going to be balanced underneath you.
Yeah, I mean, these are serious racing cars. I mean, they are seriously quick. These are probably the fastest cars on the straightaway that we're going to see all weekend long. They are quicker than the cars in the IMSA WeatherTech Sports Car Championship. Maybe the LMP3 cars are possibly a little bit quicker, but not much. These cars are seriously fast. And Danny Formal, he's, it's getting the first opportunity to drive these cars back in 2020. That was really his professional racing debut, and he's made a real name for himself since then in these cars. Real talent is Danny Formal, 27 years of age, from Boca Raton, Florida nowadays, originally from Costa Rica, and he is well out in front at the end of this first lap.
Crossed the line at the end of lap 1. Formal controls it just as he and Kyle Marcelli controlled qualifying. They'll start from the pole in tomorrow's race as well, but we'll talk about that tomorrow when we get there. It just shows, though, how balanced that car is underneath them. That Wade Taylor Racing with Andretti Autosport Lamborghini has been solid all year long. They have not been defeated, and that's something that's really hard to find in any series worldwide that you look at, a professional series where you can run up through 6 weekends so far and not put a wheel wrong or have somebody get the better of you one day.
Yeah, pretty impressive. I mean, there's been a total of 151 laps this season, and the #1 car has been out front for 91 of them. So that's a pretty impressive tally, and it's out front again here in the first 2 races this weekend. So looking to extend their lead over Gianna Torino in the number 88 car, who had a bad qualifying session. Started way towards the back of the field in the 28th position, and it was an abbreviated qualifying session this morning. Most of the cars only completed 3 laps or so, and he didn't get a good one in, so had to start way towards the back of the field. He's generally been sharing that car with Lucas Peterson from the UAE, but this weekend going alone is Gianna Torino, and he's got some work to do, and he's made up 7 positions on that opening lap in that car number 88, currently running, that's the red, white, and green car, currently running in 21st position.
When you would think for Torino, the move through the back of the pack will be relatively quick. Those are the LB Cup drivers with less experience, and their lap time, the delta between his and theirs is probably going to be significant. The further up the ladder he goes, the more difficult it's going to become, Jeremy, because he's going to catch faster and faster drivers, and eventually the move forward is going to be very, very difficult. 50-minute races in Lamborghini Super Trofeo North America, mandatory pit stop in the middle of the race. The pit stop window will be 10 minutes long. 82-second stop for drivers that are for pairings with 2 drivers, and for entries that only have a single driver, an extra 3 seconds on that mandatory pit stop.
Yeah, that's a regular feature of these races, and it's been frustrating particularly for Ryan Norman in car number 84, currently running in the 6th position, which is out of position generally for him. Another of the Wayne Taylor Racing with Andretti Autosport entries. The young man from Ohio lives now in Florida, but he came agonizing close to scoring his first win last time out at Road America. It was that 3-second differential in the pit lane that cost him on both days at Road America. Here, he's still looking for his first win, but he's got some work to do in that primarily black car in the kind of a 6th position at the moment.
Talk about the championship with Danny Formal and Kyle Marcelli leading in the pro category. And look at this racing as down through the roller coasters, side by side, the 30. Oh, and who's the other car there? The 99. That, I don't know if the officials will take a look at that. Jaden Conrad aboard that white number 99, side by side with Nico Jamin in the 30. And they headed down into the roller coaster section side by side. And then it looked like Jamin pushing Conrad off to the right a little bit. Conrad dropped the wheels, did a great job of maintaining control. We also understand that the start is under review. That's, I would say, pretty typical, because typically the officials like to make sure that everybody is in column formation across the line as they are required to be. Also, it seemed to be a very slow start, so they may be looking at the pace that the pole sitter was putting down as they came towards the line. Here's a look at
that's a good point.
Jaden Conrad and Jamin into the roller coaster, Jeremy.
Yeah, nothing too remiss there. I don't think they were side by side in the braking area. Both seem to be pretty respectful. They're giving each other room. Certainly, Jamin is leaning there, though. However, on the number 99 car of Jaden Conrad coming down the hill, that wasn't quite so respectful, was it? He gave him a bit of a hip check there, going into that turn 15, and yeah, he didn't really need to do that, I don't think. The officials are certainly going to be looking at that one for sure. That was a pretty unnecessary move for the Frenchman, by the Frenchman, I should say.
I mean, typically you look at that coming off of the left-hand corner, the car's going to drift out anyway, and you're trying to get as much speed as you can. I'm sure the traction control is going off, all of that, but you still need to leave the competitor that's even with you on the outside. You've got to leave him room to stay on the racetrack. Yeah,
you do. And this is not it's not a developmental series. There's a lot of gentleman drivers in this series, so the race officials are not going to give quite so many liberties to, even though these are pro drivers that are battling at the front. They're here to set an example to these guys who have a lot less experience. So I think Todd Snyder, the race director, is going to be looking at that, and I think I fancy that Nico Jamin might be lucky to get away without a penalty on that one. There is, however, a penalty for car number 33, changing lanes before the start. Car number 33 is a long way down the order. Dan Decker actually started second to last, so that's unfortunate to be that they spotted that one, but he's going to have to that'll be just a warning he gets this time around, so no harm, no foul for him. But the race director, Todd Snyder, did send out a memo early this week to say that there's a new penalty that he could enforce if he wants to, and it's a 10-second penalty rather than a drive-through penalty, driving through the pit lane, which will cost you here, well over 30 seconds. There's a lesser penalty that can be used at the race director's discretion. 10 seconds added to the race time. If there are any of those penalties to be enforced during race, we should be informed. And by the way, I've just got a note here from race control. Incident involving cars 99 and 30 is under review.
Thought that might be the case. And when you think about the penalties, though, Jeremy, the time penalty, it's a blessing and a curse, right? If you're on the racetrack and you get the time penalty, you go, that's not bad. Hopefully the race remains green, because if it ends under yellow, you could literally be second or third in the order, and a 30-second or a 10-second time penalty as you cross the line under yellow could cost you even more positions than it would have cost you with a drive-through penalty. So sometimes it works for you, sometimes it works against you. Really, the best advice is don't get in trouble, right?
Don't get in trouble. Yeah, right. Drive like you want to be. Race like you want to be raced, race respectfully. But this super battle going on here for the it's actually for the 4th position, with Luke Berkeley in that primarily purple car just ahead of Ryan Norman, who stands 3rd in the pro driver standing, just 1 point behind Gianna Torino coming into this weekend. That's the black and orange car directly behind the purple one heading into turn 4. And Ryan Norman thinks about looking to the inside, not quite close enough. And right behind those two is Jaden Conwright, who's making his seasonal debut for NTE Sport in kind of a 99. So he's teammates with number 42 car, and they are sandwiching Ryan Norman from Wayne Taylor Racing in caliber 84. But meanwhile, out front is Danny Formal, who's just setting sail, pulling away pretty rapidly from the rest of the pack.
And you talk about the 10-second penalties, and one was just, I don't want to use the word awarded. That's probably not a good one when you have a penalty handed to you, right? But yeah, Nico Jamin is going to be the recipient of a 10-second penalty for incident responsibility with the 99, as we saw coming down through the roller coaster. So that will happen at the end of the race as he crosses the line. Timing and scoring system will automatically move 10 seconds back, move him 10 seconds back in the order, and we'll have to find out where he finishes there. Remember, we had penalties at Watkins Glen, Jeremy, and it affected the outcome of the race. It was, I think it was about a 2-second penalty that was awarded, or a 5-second penalty. Can't really remember the number, but it came down to the very end of the race, closing down. It was for the win. It just kept closing down and closing down and closing down, and eventually the pursuer got within that time period and took the victory, even though they didn't take the victory on the racetrack.
That's exactly right, and that was the only race win this season for Danny Formal, where he didn't see the checkered flag first. Danny Formal and Carl Marcelli, they just pipped Gianna Torino and Lucas Peterson in that race on that corrected time. And as you say, it won't show up until the end of the race. Right now, if you add 10 seconds to Ryan to Nico Jamin, who's running in a 3rd position, it would drop him to around about 8th position. So he's probably only going to lose maybe 3 or 4 places before the end of the race if they continue to spread out the rate they are right now. But certainly that's a penalty that you could have done without, running in 3rd position on the road.
3-car train heading up through the Snake towards South Bend, led by the purple 42. That's the Pro-Am leader, Luke Berkeley. Then right behind him, the 84, Ryan Norman, and Jaden Conrad for the white number 99. And for Berkeley out in front of the other two, again, multi-class racing, you want your crew to remind you who those pursuers are. You want to keep as many of them between you and the next car in your class, but at the same point in time, don't put your car at risk doing battle with someone really doesn't matter in the final points tally for the day. And I think that's the challenge with some of this. If you've got 3 or 4 cars running and different classes interspersed in between, you don't want to risk your car, but at the same point in time, if you let another car by, then you're letting your competitor closer. So for these drivers in Pro-Am and Pro, I think it becomes a big challenge here.
Well, it is a very good point, and to your point there, Mark Wilgus, who's leading in LB Cup, started in the 13th position overall on the grid. He slipped back to 18th now, but he's still got a couple of cars in between himself and the guy who's running 2nd in class, which is a newcomer to the series this season, Mark Brummond, who's driving for NTE Sport in car number 89. And Mark Brummond has he's originally from Seattle, Washington, although based now in the Charlotte area. He's done some. I'm surprised he's running in LB Cup, to be honest, because he's got a fair amount of experience over the years in a whole bunch of different cars. Started off running a vintage Alfa Romeo GTV6, which is a cool car. I remember driving one of those in what is now the Michelin Pilot Challenge at Firebird Raceway in California many moons ago. He's also driven in GRC, Global Rallycross, and did some SRO, and also did a couple of Michelin Pilot Challenge races a couple of years ago as well. But he's running 2nd in the class in LB Cup. But Mark Wilgus, even though he slipped back a few positions on the road compared to where he started, he's still in good position to potentially score, would be his 5th win of the season in the LB Cup and extend his championship lead.
Great battle off of Oak Tree and down the back straightaway. The lead car there, 68, Johannes van Overbeek behind the wheel, and then Lofsgaard, Lee, and Miller all right there together. Those are the second, third, fourth, and fifth place cars in the Pro-Am category, and they are having a great run of it. And I think the other thing that's cool about the Pro-Am category, Jeremy, well-recognized sports car drivers in the pro portion of that AM lineup, and they're put on some great show. Problem for the 12 right now, right rear tire is down. This is going to be a long way back to the pit lane.
Yeah, that's disappointing. Certainly, that's going to be a. You've got to be careful not to go too fast. There's Shihan Chandrasoma off the road as well. That's running in the Pro-Am class. He's third in points in Pro-Am coming into this weekend. But it's going to cost him a fair bit of ground. He was already running towards the back of the Pro-Am pack in this race in car number 20. But that tyre coming apart there. That's.
I don't know what happened.
More damage as well.
Yeah, I didn't see if he had contact with anyone. It's Dominic Starkweather, who's aboard the 12 right now. Great race win in the AM category at Road America. The last weekend out, he's had a pole on the season, but it's been really an up and down kind of year for Dominic. He's had some good performances, but they either seem to be preceded or following, a struggle on the racetrack, and this may be the same kind of deal. See, there's the problem for Shihan Chandrasoma. He gets off coming down into Hogpen. Got off
that's kind
early.
of weird. Looked like I don't know, really just ran a bit of wide coming through 15 and 16 there, but got way out of sync going into Hogpen, and that's the scenic route on the grass around from there. It cost him a lot of track time, but he is able at least to continue, whereas that number 12 car, shedding bits and pieces as well. That's a pretty disastrous day turning into that for Dominic, who started second in the AM category in this race from the 12th position overall.
Well, he's run 2 race weekends with us, and like I said, he had a win at Road America. He had another top 5 finish in the second round at Tech Raceway Laguna but
he's actually run all 3, but he's running 2 different classes. The middle weekend he ran as a pro. The second weekend of the season he ran as a pro in the pro class with Tyler Cook, and then in the other 2 events he was first race of the season. He was sharing that car with another driver in the AM class, but this weekend, as he was last, is going solo in that Valkyrie Velocity car. Dominic Starkweather. He shared the first race of the season with Cam Ali-Abadi, and that was the only race that Cam has done this season. So Dominic has carried on. He's now back in the AM class again, and is running very, very well indeed. Qualified, had a really good qualifying run last time out at Road America.
Lamborghini Super Trofeo, North America from Virginia International Raceway. Just over 2 minutes to go before the mandatory pit stop, and a problem on the racetrack for one of the competitors, lost in a cloud of smoke and a little bit of belching flame from the exhaust. Now back underway. The LB Cup entrance, but I couldn't get, or the AM entrance, I should say, but I couldn't get the number. It's 66, I believe, Jeremy.
Yeah, that's Lane Vakala then, who started in the. He actually qualified fairly well for this week for this race. Did Lane. He started in the 17th position, but clearly had a bit of a spin there coming out of turn 3, and that won't do the tyres any good either, will it? Go on the throttle. They're trying to keep it on the racetrack, but it's going to use up those rear tyres pretty substantially.
Nicely done there by Shihan Chandrasoma in the gold entry, who was able to zip around the backside there and not get caught up in the spin. Good stuff here. The 42 leading the battle. That's Berkeley. The 42 leading the battle down into turn 1. The 84 right behind him, though, that's Ryan Norman. This is not a fight for position in class, Jeremy.
Correct, that's right, because Luke Berkeley is running in the Pro-Am class here, and Ryan Norman is running in the Pro-Am, and right behind those two is Jaden Conwright as well in that number 99 car. So they've just gone past one of the They've lapped one of the slower LB Cup drivers a couple of corners ago, so this battle continues here. Meanwhile, Danny Formal, the reason we're not seeing him is he's way out in front, 7 seconds his lead. Having said that, no, Nico Jamin is closing on Nate Stacey in the car that's been penalised, car number 30. That AMSA Motorsports car number 30 for Nico Jamin is in third position. And right now he's 9 seconds ahead of this battle that we're concentrating on that coming out of the Oak Tree turn, headed by Luke Berkeley. So Nico Jamin is almost in a position to have made up that 10-second penalty that he will be assessed at the end of the race.
Well, and this is the challenge that we talked about this multi-class racing. For right now, it's Ryan Norman that wants by the 42 that's in front of him of Luke Berkeley, because he's got Jaden Conright on his tail, and that battle between Jaden Conright and Ryan Norman, that is for position and in class. Pits now open, so a 10-minute pit window. Somewhere in that window, you must serve your mandatory pit stop. And again, for driver combinations that have two drivers, it's an 82-second stop, and if there's a single driver format, 85-second stop. That extra 3 seconds, you and I have talked about this, Jeremy, all season long, and I think it's a very valid point that the series makes, and that is, if the one driver is staying in the car, there was no risk of any kind of a faux pas on a driver change. The driver knows the racetrack, he knows the car, he knows what kind of tire he came in with. That driver will have an advantage when they go out on the racetrack. So there is that 3-second additional time that you must spend on pit lane. And yeah, sometimes it drops you back and it hurts you position-wise a little bit, but you've made that choice to go at it alone, and so there's a price to be paid for it.
Yeah, and for Ryan Norman there, he is driving solo in this race in car number 84. He has stayed out there when he saw number 42 car coming into the pits, was running directly ahead of him. That will give him now some clear track. So Ryan Norman will be hoping for the next 10 minutes that he can run as fast as he can, and there isn't a full course caution, because when there is a caution, the pits will be closed, and he would then lose any advantage he might conceivably gain by staying out on the racetrack right now. And in this race, particularly with the Pro-Am cars, there's quite a differential in the lap times between the Pro and the Am. So for those cars that are running with the Pro at the wheel at the moment, they will stay out as long as they can before they hand over the car to their co-driver. So we've got about half the field in the pits now making their scheduled stop.
Cole Lofsgaard leads in the Pro-Am category, but that bright pink number 14, Andy Lee, having a good run, sharing that car with Slade Stewart. Stewart, the 22 LB Cup champion, moved up into the Pro-Am category alongside Andy Lee. And it's a crowd favorite. Every weekend you go to, Jeremy, this team goes kind of above and beyond. They host a lot of guests and really open the paddock up to fans that want to see the car. They've got some stuffed animals that they give out, that pink unicorn on the side of the car, and it really has become a fan favorite.
Yeah, it's very cool, isn't it? And Andy Lee doing a really nice job running in the fifth position right now, because our race leader, Danny Formal, he has elected to come onto the pit lane. There he is, handing that car over. Carl Marcelli, I think, probably already aboard that car, just waiting for the time to elapse, that minimum lap time. He knows how long it takes to get from his pit box to the pit exit line, and it's from pit in to pit out that the minimum time is taken. Just looking at my scoring now, it shows up as 1 minute 22, so that's 82 seconds, which is exactly on the button for a two-driver car. It's 1 minute 25, 85 seconds for a single driver, but 1 minute 22 for a pairing, and they timed that absolutely perfectly. No surprise there, of course. That's one of the reasons they're leading the championship. In that way, Wayne Taylor Racing with Andretti Autosport car number 1, so he will rejoin the fray and most likely not even come close to giving up the position, even though Carl Marcelli has taken over the wheel of that car.
Obviously, there was some type of an incident between the 34 and 17 in the LB Cup category that was reviewed by race control, and there was no action. as the action does continue on pit lane. Now the 8, Nate Stacy in the pro category onto pit lane. Crew will check that single lug, make sure it's tight. They can also make a tire pressure adjustment. Lower the tire pressures, these tires will heat up, the pressures will go up. A lot of times they'll drop a little bit of air out, trying to rebalance the car, the handling for the driver that they request. And then they'll sit and wait, and that time sitting and waiting to go back out has got to seem like an eternity, especially on a warm day like we have here at VIR.
Yeah, dead right. It does seem like a long time when you're sitting there, but it's they're used to it now. Here's this battle continuing though after the pit stops, with number 42 and number 99 still together on the racetrack. So number 42, Luke Berkeley, has handed over that car to Keon Tandon, and Jaden Conwright has stayed aboard the number 99 car. So he lost a little bit of ground during that pit stop, but he's closed it up again since they got back on the racetrack. And this is, well, wait and see it right now. It's the battle for about 10th position, but still quite a few cars have yet to make their mandatory pit stop, including Ryan Norman, by the way, in car number 84, has just set his best lap of the race so far last time around.
Here's the speed differential. You see it, the 42 on the racetrack at speed, the 17 just coming out, and takes a little time to get up to speed, and kind of gives you an idea of what that outlap is like for the new driver, and the experienced driver, the one that has the experience of the day, staying on the racetrack, getting up to speed if they've already done the stop, or if they haven't, they've been out there for the last 20 minutes or so. They know this racetrack very well, and you see the speed differential there in turn 1, the 84 now in.
Indeed so, and so he's going to make that stop. He doesn't have to get out of the car, just open the door, get a bit of air, and it's pretty toasty here today at Virginia International Raceway. A great place to go racing. So they will check the tire pressures on that car. They're not changing tires, just checking the pressures, make sure that everything is hunky-dory for Ryan when he goes back out again to complete this race. And in the meantime, that's going to hand the lead to Cole Loftsgaard for Precision Performance Motorsports, the caliber 47. He's running in a Pro-Am class, done a really nice first stint in this car. He'll hand over that car in a while to Mo Dadka. Those two have had no luck at all this season, but Cole Loftsgaard's a really talented driver, opportunity to compete at this level and lead in the race overall in caliber 47. Second, he's ahead of Andy Lee by about 4 seconds. That's saying something, because Andy Lee is enormously talented. Right for the Flying Lizard Motorsports team, also in the Pro-Am class. In his third position is Andy Lee's teammate, also vastly experienced. That's Johannes van Overbeek in car number 68. So they're the top 3 cars at the moment. And then fourth on the racetrack as he completes laps is the race leader before the race, car number 1, which is Kyle Marcelli, who's got a pretty handy lead over Sebastian Saavedra in second position, who's taken over from Nico Jamin in the IMSA Motorsports car number 30.
Few cars left to make their stop. Marcelli's taken over from Danny Vermael, as you said. Christopher Tasca in the 23, the LB Cup entry, is going to have to serve a penalty for speeding on pit lane. So that NTE Sport Lamborghini Palm Beach entry is going to have to come down pit lane one more time. And that will pretty much dash any hopes that he had of moving forward, because that's going to set you back at least 25, 26 seconds, I would think, with the drive-through. Meanwhile, for Al Marcelli and Danny Vermael, I mean, you look at seasons like this, Jeremy, and you think it has been perfect so far this year. I think they have 4 pole positions, and including the pole that they have for tomorrow. So never off the top step of the podium. It doesn't get much better than. What do you do? What do you do with this if you take this championship in this style? Where do you go?
Yeah, well, it's a big feather in your cap, that's for sure, if you can pull off the perfect season. But still a long way to go this year. We've only had we're exactly halfway through the season. 6 races down, 6 to go, 5 more after today. And there is that number 30 car, Sebastian Saavedra, former IndyCar driver, at the wheel of that car at the moment. He's running behind Kyle Marcelli, as the other 3 cars that were ahead of him, the Pro-Am cars, will come onto the pit lane this time around. So that's number 47, Cole Lofsgaard, will hand over the car to Andy Lee in the pink Sparkle Flanders entry. He will hand over to Slade Stewart, and similarly, Johannes van Overbeek, car 68, over in third position. It'll be Chris Palomo taking over that car for the second half of the race. There's somebody off at 12.
Problem for the 45, that is the AM entry, and off in 12, which is so easy to do. You drop that wheel off to the outside, and the car just drifts off there. Get it under control, get it back underway. Take a look and see how that happens. There it is. That was more than just a little off. That was a big spin. And I don't know, it came into shot so quickly. Did he have help, Jeremy, or was that by himself? Rob Walker does it by himself. He does it by himself.
Yeah, unassisted.
It's
easily done. I mean, it's a really tricky corner up there. It's a double apex right-hander. You carry a lot of speed through the first part of the corner, and then you run wide out to the edge of the racetrack before you turn in for the second of the apeces, where the oak tree used to be, still called Oak Tree Corner in respect for that fabulous old arbor that used to be there. But no longer there, and there's some good racing going on all the way up and down the pack. That's kind of a 45 making a move, which is Rob Walker again, having had that made that mistake a little while ago. He's going to get past Graham Doyle, I think that was, in the LB Cup entry, kind of a 10.
Looking through the leaderboard of the 4 different classes in Lamborghini Super Trofeo North America, Kyle Marcelli up front right now in his Wayne Taylor Racing with Andretti Autosport Lamborghini Palm Beach entry. Moving over to Pro-Am, Keon Tandon leads there just like he leads in the championship. Talk more about that in just a second. Mark Wilgus aboard the number 50 in LB Cup. He controls that championship and he controls that class here today for Forte Racing, powered by US Racetronics, a Lamborghini Beverly Hills entry, and then in AM, it's McIntosh up front, and again, championship leaders, Anthony McIntosh, Glenn McGee, they lead the championship in AM, having won the last round at Road America, so, there's a big slide.
That was a good save.
I'm not sure that that he knew he had saved it. You saw the car coming off of turn 11, and it was everything he could do to get his hands in there, and I think that was Dominic Starkweather again, and everything he could do to get the counter steering in and try to arrest that slide, and barely got it done. Take a breath.
The car that was in the pits. Yeah, exactly right. That was the car that was in the pits earlier on, having had that puncture. So it was quite likely some additional damage caused by that flailing tyre when he brought it back to the pit lane. So I'm sure that car is not handling at all well for Dominic Starkweather, but he's doing a good job to keep it going again. Meanwhile, leading in the LB Cup car is Mark Wilgus in kind of a 50. That's one of the Forte Racing powered by US Racetronics entry, the Arrow black and green car heading through the S's now. And he's done a super job all the way through this race, running in 17th position overall. And he's got about 7 seconds in hand over Mark Brummond, who continued to run in second position, making his debut in this cars this weekend for the NTE Sport team in car number 89.
There's a look at the 42, Keon Tandon, who leads the Pro-Am category, as I said earlier, won the last time out with Luke Berkeley at Road America. And I don't want to take anything away from anybody, because you go and you race and you have good luck, you have bad luck, and so do your competitors. He leads the championship in Pro-Am. John Capestro de Betz, Tom Capizzi, who led it going into the Road America weekend. JCD not here this weekend. Tom Capizzi is. Huge crash at Road America for John Capestro de Betz, and some injuries there that have kept him out of the car and will keep him out of the car for a few weeks, maybe a couple of months, hopefully at the most, and then he'll be back in. But the recipient of that really is Keon Tandon, who had been running second in the championship and now leapfrogs to the front. As I said, nothing to take away from the performance the 42 has put in all year long. You have to be there in order to take over the lead, but our thoughts going out to JCD right now. Thinking of you, brother, and looking forward to seeing you back in a car.
Yeah, absolutely right. He's working hard to try and get back and hopefully be fit enough in time to drive in Indianapolis. That's the plan. And that's one of the reasons that Tom Capizzi is still entered this weekend in the Pro-Am class rather than running solo. He is running solo, but he would be eligible for the Am class. But because of under the force majeure rule that is used in the Lamborghini Super Trofeo, if it's things that are out of your control, then you can score championship points. And even though he's not here this weekend, John Capestro Dubets will be accredited with the same amount of points that Tom Capizzi can score. Unfortunately for Tom, he's had a really difficult weekend. There's all sorts of electrical problems yesterday in the practice sessions. Qualifying didn't go well this morning either. The car cut out very early on, didn't even set a lap. And then in the race, he had a puncture on the first lap, so nothing going right for that team here. Is that a drive-through there for car number 99? Yes, it is. Short pits.
Yep, and a 23 will serve one as well. And remember, Tasca had a speeding penalty. That must have been on the way in for his pit stop. Then his pit stop was short, so he'll have to serve another penalty there aboard the number 23 for Christopher Tasca.
Yeah, and I thought it was slightly odd earlier on when Jaden Conrad came out of the pits right behind number 42 car, which he had been beforehand. Number 42 car, though, they had to make a driver change because Keon Tandon took over in that number 42 car from Luke Berkeley, who did a brilliant job in the opening stint of the race. And yet after the pit stops, with the number 99 car running solo of Jaden Conrad, he was still right with him. So I did wonder about that. I must admit at the time, but I didn't look at the pit stop time. Actually, the pit stop time, looking at them now, for the number 42 car, that was nail on head, 1 minute 22, so 82 seconds exactly right. So it should have had a 3-second advantage after those pit stops, but he didn't. And now we know why. And Jaden Conrad serving that penalty in car number 42. They probably forgot to set the dash differential in that car, because generally that car does have a co-driver.
Well, it's good to see Jason Conrad back in the series, winner of the IMSA Diverse Driver Development Scholarship a couple of years ago. Very talented young driver, and good to see him occasionally in the WeatherTech Series, back here in Lamborghini Super Trofeo North America. Somebody you'll probably hear a lot about in the future. Very, very quick.
Very true. Very true. And I just looking at the overall order. Carl Marcelli is still way out in front. It's quite a slow lap last time around. I'm not quite sure it was that slow. But car number 48, that's David Starr, who is running second position in the AM Championship. Currently running in the fourth position in that class. He's a lap down, I think, to the overall leaders, but still running, looking to pick up some good AM points from this race.
You have those days when you think maybe this is going to be the weekend where I can close in on the championship. And for David Staub, obviously not the weekend that he wants to have right now, running a little bit further back as you talked about. But the weekend, the season just continues to go as planned for the number one of Danny Formal and Kyle Marcelli. And I think about it, and I know the frustration of Giano Torino, Ryan Norman, the guys that are running second, who know exactly what the back end of the number one looks like. They rarely get a view of the front end of it in the rearview mirrors because they're rarely in front of it. And it's frustrating when there's that one team, that one driver that's always in front of you. I know I certainly had it back in 1991 in Indy Lights with Eric Bachelart, who won the Indy Light Championship that year. Calvin Fish has told me that he had that frustration in F2000 when somebody named Senna was in front of him all the time. I once asked him why he didn't get frustrated enough that he removed him, and Calvin said, I can't get close enough. I could never get close enough to do it. But I mean, there are plenty of drivers who have those experiences where there's just some team that steps in and dominates, and it is frustrating when you're running second. You're putting in your best performances, you're driving a car that feel like the engineers have done a great job in putting underneath you, but that car in front of you just always seems to be there. And that's one of those seasons that Formal and Marcel are having right now with Wayne Taylor Racing and Andretti Autosport.
Yeah, just doing a tremendous job. I mean, the two of them, Carmel driving well with himself right now. He's flashing the lights as he came up through the S's there behind a slower car. Somebody about to be lapped. I think it might have been Rob Walker again, actually. But, he's got a big lead. He's still got 11 seconds in hand over the second place car of Sebastian Saavedra, who's about 3 seconds ahead. He's pulled away on the last couple of laps over Nate Stacey, who's running third. But he's still not that number 30 car was 10 seconds clear of its pursuers, which is what it needs to be, because it's going to get a penalty at the end of this race. And right now he's only 3.5 seconds ahead of Nate Stacey. Ryan Norman has caught up with Nate Stacey, so the battle between the 84 is for third position overall on the road. A little farther down the field, Ophir Levy and his good buddy John Hirschberg having a good battle. Number 13 is Ophir Levy in that sort of also wood coloured car, I suppose. He's a wood manufacturer, is Ophir, and he's battling with John Hirschberg and Graham Doyle, three up nose to tail, battling for third position in LB Cup.
Yeah, they're trying to find that final position on the podium in LB Cup, as you just said, and it's a great little battle going on there. You look through the field with 4 different classes, you're going to find a battle pretty much everywhere. AJ Muss, the former Olympian snowboarder, aboard the 66, that kind of olive green 66 Lamborghini Huracan Super Trofeo Evo 2, headed up the snake right now, the climbing X's.
Yep. He's running third right in AM. Yeah. And fair way behind Tyler Hoffman, who is ahead of him on the road, and I think he didn't actually make any ground towards Tyler on that last lap. So Tyler Hoffman is running second. He's about 14 seconds actually between those two, but still it's been a good run. Lane Vicala had a good qualifying run in the number 66 car, and AJ Muss taking over from there, currently running in the 16th position overall.
But this is their best, I don't want to say finish because we're a long way from it, 8 minutes, 50 seconds, but this is one of the better runs they've had all year long, Vicala and Muss. So if they can hold that, they'll end up with a podium finish, which will be by far their best finish of the season.
Yeah, absolutely true. That would be a feather in their cap if they can do that. Tell you what, my hat's off also to Mo Dadko, who's doing a really good job in car number 47. That's the battle we're looking at now, coming out through the S's. The pink car behind him is Slade Stewart. That is the battle. Is it
for second?
Yeah, has he closed right up then in that case? Because there was a fair margin between those two on the last lap. So, it's number 41 car. It's Mark Miller then, who's actually just made the pass for third place on Slade Stewart, excuse me. So the black and kind of orangey red car is that's Mark Miller. He's taken over from Paul Nemshoff, who drove the opening stint. His family very well known in offshore powerboat racing and all sorts of success in that. Mark Miller has taken over for him. He's just moved past the pink car of Slade Stewart. Now he's going to try and catch the leading car in Pro-Am, which is Kjorn Tanden.
Well, that's an interesting driver.
Excuse me. No, next in line is Mo Dadka in car 47, who's doing a nice job. He's about 6 seconds ahead of Mark Miller.
It's an interesting driver order that they've elected to do in the 41 with Nimshoff and Miller, right? Because what we've seen in this Pro-Am category, it's most of the pros were in at the start and the AMs are in at the finish, but the 41 team, Flying Lizard Motorsports and Lamborghini Newport Beach, they've gone the opposite direction, and their faster driver is Mark Miller, and very experienced driver, Trans Am champion. I mean, this is a guy who knows how to get things done, so they've put him in to finish.
Yep. And you, as a Pro-Am team, you can do whatever you like. You can go whoever goes first. There's kind of a mix really in the Pro-Am class. Some of them started with their pros, some of them didn't. But certainly out in front, Kjorn Tanden and Luke Berkeley they're both really Pro-Am drivers themselves. Neither is hugely experienced. In fact, Kjorn Tanden, his first ever race was only 1 year ago in a Lamborghini at Road America. Done a fair bit of karting before that, and all sim racing as well. But that was his first ever race. He's one of the youngest drivers in the field Kiontan, just 20 years of age, from Calabasas in California. Meanwhile, coming ready forward, that's Ryan Norman, who's charging along here. He's up to third position and not far behind Sebastian Saavedra for position on the road. He will gain that position right now in any case, because Saavedra is going to get 10 seconds added to his time at the end of the race. But Ryan Norman would like to catch him on the road as well.
Working through traffic, Nate Stacey now taking the fight to the 86, trying to slide around. He wants to move forward. This is not for position in class, but this is what we were talking about. You want to clear these other competitors so you can try to get on up to the next person in line, which is 2 cars up for Nate Stacey right now. It's the 84 of Norman. He is 2 cars ahead of this battle that he's trying to deal with right now. It's John Hirschberg aboard the 86, who's just in front of him. Then he's got Ophir Levy, who's in a different class, and then he's got the car of Ryan Norman that he's trying to track down. He wants desperately to get past those 2 cars, but don't forget that Levy and Hirschberg are in a fight of their own.
Yeah, and there's several battles developing. There was also one developing a second position now in Pro-Am, with number 47 car Mo Dadka being closed upon by Mark Miller. Hugely experienced, of course, Mark Miller. He was quick in the practice sessions and in qualifying. I think he had a good qualifying run earlier on. He will start 6th overall and first in Pro-Am for race 2 tomorrow. This morning there were 2 qualifying sessions, each of 15 minutes. First 15 minutes was set by whichever driver was due to start in race 1. The second 15 minutes, those drivers that have 2 drivers in them switch drivers. Whoever qualifies for that second session will start the race tomorrow morning.
Nate Stacey aboard the 8, trying to get past Ophir Levy aboard the 13. Levy and LB Cup. Stacey in the pro category. He slides through into turn 1. Almost a little bit of contact there, but now for Nate Stacey, most importantly, it's a clean racetrack to the 2 cars in front. Ryan Norman and Sebastian Saavedra, they are caught up in their own fight, now headed into turn 5 as Nate Stacey heads into turn 3.
Yeah, this is the battle then for second position on the road here, and it's heating up, isn't it? Ryan Norman got close to Saavedra a couple of laps ago. Then I think a bit of traffic, he fell back somewhat. He's closed up that gap, that deficit once again. Now right with Saavedra as they head up the hill, and other battles raging behind them as well.
And what Nate Stacey wants to see is traffic in front of Saavedra and Norman. That battle going on, and it's brought these 2 combatants close together as well for the battle in LB Cup. Ophir Levy aboard the 13 holds down the 3rd position, with the 2 cars right behind him. Hirschberg and Doyle, they want that position as well. Into 14 at the end of the back straightaway. The 89, that's Brumman, who runs 2nd. And look at this fight down through the roller coaster. Towards the end of these races, Jeremy, everything seems to come back together and the battles get really heated again.
That's right, just 2.5 minutes remaining, and it's toasty out there. Track temperature 123 degrees. These tires from Hankook are getting a workout this afternoon. The drivers, it's hard work behind the wheel of these cars as well. Some super battles going on there. Once again, on that last lap, Sebastian Saavedra just pulled out a little bit of a margin over Ryan Norman in the battle for 2nd place. Meanwhile, Carl Marcelli, he's just kind of cruising around well off his ultimate pace at the lead of this race overall.
So Saavedra and Norman have gotten through the traffic, and now Nate Stacey is left to deal with him. He's 2 lap cars in front of him, 2 slower class cars in front of him, and it looks like he's going to catch him in the snake or the climbing S's, whatever you want to call them. One of the most challenging and highest speed sections of the racetrack coming up, and that has allowed Saavedra and Norman to slip away a little bit. Nate Stacey's going, come on guys, let me through. I think I can get there, but time is running out. 2 to go.
Yeah, he's about 7 seconds behind Saavedra is Nate Stacey, kind of at 8 into 4th position overall. He needs to be within 10 seconds of him to move up 1 position onto the overall podium. So he's got to get past that traffic in order to achieve that goal, he needs to be within 10 seconds of Saavedra, as I said.
Well, he's gotten past one, and so now he'll move past the other, and then it's clean sailing at least for a little while. And like you said, if he can close to within 10 seconds of Saavedra, we know that the 30 has that post-race penalty. If he can close to within 10 seconds, he will move up. Norman would move to second, and Nate Stacey would move to third. Can he get it done? Saavedra in traffic in turn one now. No, that's Danny Formal and Kyle Marcelli. I'm sorry. Too many red Lamborghinis out there.
Well, that's a good point, actually. And I'm just looking at the battle for Pro-Am. They should be coming towards start-finish line any second now. For second position in Pro-Am, Mo Dadka has had it, but Mark Miller has been closing in at number 47 and number 41. They're a little ways away from. They're coming down the last few corners, most likely.
Traffic is playing into this in Pro. Saavedra 18 seconds behind the leader, Nate Stacey 25. Do the math there. He's within that 10-second gap, Jeremy.
Yep, yeah, even though he lost a bit of time on that last lap, Nate Stacey is still within that margin of error there. So he should be fine for a place on the overall podium. And a little bit farther back is... Yeah, so he's looking good at the moment. Meanwhile, in Pro-Am, Dadka is continuing to hold on to that position just ahead of Mark Miller.
Well, Saavedra and Norman held up right at the bottom of the S's that time, Jeremy, by lap traffic again. That's going to help Nate Stacey even more.
It is, Stacey's fine at this stage. He's not going to catch those two ahead of him on the road, but as long as he can stay within 10 seconds, that's good enough for him. And even if Ryan Norman doesn't get past Saavedra, same thing. He doesn't have to worry about that too much. It'll be... Yeah, we're on the last lap. This is the last lap.
White checkered flag is out for the number one. Kyle Marcelli, Danny Formal. The perfect season continues. Win number 7 on the season. Preston Buckley with the checkered flag, waving it for the Lamborghini competitors. So Marcelli underneath the checkered flag first, and they'll start on pole and see if they can keep their perfect season going tomorrow. Meanwhile, as they cross the line in Pro, the time penalty applies to the 30. Norman, then Stacey. That's the top 3 in Pro. What do we have in Pro-Am? Keon Tendon, championship leader, coming down the front straightaway, already has his hand in the air, celebrating a victory there. 42 across the line. He'll take the win. And for Keon Tendon, that will add to this championship lead. It makes it 2 wins in a row. He won round 2 at Road America. He and Luke Berkeley. They'll do it again here at VIR.
Yeah, really impressive. They had a great battle for third position in LB Cup there. Ophir Levy just holding on ahead of John Hirschberg and Graham Dorr. That was a great battle for that position. Meanwhile, a little bit farther back, car number 41, Mark Miller. Oh, he's just managed to get past Mo Dadka for the second position in Pro-Am on that last lap.
Checkered flag continuing to fall. Anthony McIntosh aboard the 69. He and Glenn McGee, they'll take their second win of the season. They too won at Road America in round number 2, and they back it up with a pole and a win here. That will help them in their championship run. They came in to the weekend here with a 5-point lead, and that will help add to it a little bit. But as you pointed out, Jeremy, there's still a lot to go in the 2023 season.
Yeah, there certainly is, and there's still 5 races to go, including one tomorrow morning. But it's been an absolutely, once again, a perfect drive for Danny Formal and Kyle Marcelli. Win number 7 for them on the season. This is the 15th win overall for both of them, actually. They haven't been driven together all the way through their careers, but coincidentally, they both have a total now of 15 wins overall. And another great day for that Wayne Taylor Racing with Andretti Autosport team. Hats off also there to Keon Tandon and Luke Berkeley, who come away with their second successive win in Pro-Am. Second position, a great drive there by Mark Miller to just get past Mo Dadka, who did a really nice job. He and Cole Lofsgaard had to settle for a third third position today, but after the season they'll be thrilled with that. It's their first podium of the season so far. And in the AM category, Anthony McIntosh and Glenn McGee, they led throughout the race. Once again, for Precision Performance Motorsports, Tyler Hoffman did hold off, or did finish in second position, and AJ Must just held off David Starb for third place in AM right at the end.
Great run here for Lamborghini Super Trofeo North America. No full course cautions. Drivers clean today. We still have one more coming up for tomorrow. It'll be round 8 of the 2023 season. Interesting day. All 4 classes, the championship leaders, continued their march towards the big trophy at the end of the season, but we still have a long way to go. 12 rounds, and we are only through round 7. For Jeremy Shaw, I'm Brian Till. Thanks for joining us here today at Virginia International Raceway. Lamborghini Super Trofeo North America. We will do it all again tomorrow right here at VIR.